Okay, so tell me about you. How was your week?
Um, it was okay. I feel like I know overall I'm progressing. I get that. But I just feel like I am never, ever, ever going to get stopping when I'm full. I just can't do it.
I totally
And
get you.
so it's just the over and over, the stuffing myself and the feeling of guilt and just like, come on. What is the problem? Why can't I get this?
Well, I first of all, let me say I totally am nodding my head because I have been there and felt that 1,000, maybe 5,000 times. Right? I get that. And I wish I could just say, like every time I see a weight loss commercial and they're like, in 30 days, lose X amount of pounds, I'm like, I wish there was a promise like that would just say, this is how long it's going to take, because then you would just like, okay, I'll tough it out. I'll do whatever I have to do for that long. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's such a combination of physical and emotional, right?
Yep.
That it takes a lot of unraveling and a lot of changing and a lot of figuring things out. And I am still figuring my stuff out, right? And I can't even tell you how long I've been working on this. But what I can tell you is that every time I work on it, it gets better. And I see progress and I feel a difference and my life gets a little better. And the harder I'm willing to work on it, the faster that happens.
Mm-hmm.
What I notice is that I tend to go in steps. So like I get to a point where I'm really miserable. I'm sick of it. Whatever, life's not great. And I work really hard and I go up another level. And then I feel just enough better that I feel like, okay, I'm good. And I kind of stay there for a while. And then I realize, okay, this isn't better. It's not, I mean, it's better than it was, but it's not gone. And it's still affecting my life. And this is still not great. So then I work really hard again. And that could include, some of those working hards have been that I've gone to therapy. Some of them have been, sorry, I need to put my password in with one hand. Let's pray I did that right with one hand. Oh, I did. Yay. Okay. Join a meeting. Oh, don't be dumb. I really do remember what I'm saying to you, but this is important enough that I want to say it to you without worrying about this. Oh, it's you this time. Oh, good. Okay, I'm setting the phone down so I can do this right.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. I can't believe this morning is being so dumb. So Zoom always just automatically logs in for me, and now it's requiring a login.
Oh no.
I don't normally have to log in. I have to look up what the login is.
Oh, no.
So anyway, so for me, working hard, sometimes it was working on the 12-step group in the church. And that brought me to a whole new level of understanding and things like that. And then another time it's working with my therapist. And then, another time it might be working with my therapist again on new things that I'm understanding. So it's just, a constant work, and you have to kind of figure out, okay, the reason why I really love integrating the intuitive eating is because obviously we have to deal with the physical, but that's not all we have to deal with, right? And so it helps us know what we're getting to. But then when we struggle with how to do that, I feel like that is a really good key indicator that there's something more going on. So if I know for a fact that eating healthy and eating an intuitive way feels good, I'm happier, all that stuff, then let me just get rid of this thing. How do I Um, and I find myself doing it anyway, then that is an absolute red engine light that there is something going on up here.
Okay.
Right. And then I have to dive into that and start saying, okay, what thoughts are happening when I'm doing this? What is the anxiety level and where's it coming from? Every time I want to eat this week, what emotions am I having? And inevitably, when I'm willing to do that, I find stuff and it surprises me all the time. Good example. I'm glad that this is a private meeting that we don't share with the world, because I wouldn't want to share this with the world. But I was just in Chicago and I found myself, I've gone back to therapy to get some more help, because I realized that the family that I was raised in had a much bigger effect on me sometimes than I think, and in my belief about myself. And I'm starting to learn that I still don't value myself like I need to. Like I said, I've gone those steps up, but I find oftentimes that I still don't put myself at the same level as everybody else. So I was at my daughter's house and we're having a great time all week. And my therapist had challenged me to, every time I have, whatever issue, then I should write down what I'm thinking, what my emotions are at the moment. So at first I'm like, well, this is stupid. I'm not really thinking anything. I'm just enjoying being with my grandbaby. I'm enjoying being with my daughter, my son-in-law. And then the next thing I know, I'm laying in bed after writing that, like, I'm not really, like, I'm having a good time. This is nice, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm laying, on my little air mattress, and all of a sudden I saw the day and I realized, every time they say, okay, so what do you want for lunch? We could do like turkey pesto paninis, or we could just do peanut butter and jelly, or whatever you want. My answer is always, you know what? It all sounds good. Right? I have no opinion, even though in my head I might have been like, peanut butter and jelly really sounds good, but I don't want to be a burden on anybody. I don't want to, so just whatever you want. Right? Which is not a big deal, but so we have the sandwich, and then later on, it's like, well, what do you want to do? Or, I start finding myself getting hungry, but I don't say anything because it's not my house. And it's like, well, I'll just wait. And then I feel like, okay, I'm really hungry. Are they going to get hungry soon? And then dinner comes along and, well, what do you want? We could make this, or we could save that for a Sunday, and then we could have this day. And they're asking me my opinions. And all along, I'm just cutting myself off all the time. I don't have any opinions, and anything you want is perfect. And I could just see, like, through the day, there were probably 12 times I did that to myself, whether it was with food or with what do we want to do today, or do you want to take a nap, or would you like to play with the baby? Or it was like constantly my feelings didn't matter to me, not to anybody else, but to me. Right. And as I realized that night, and I got up, I grabbed my little journal and I started writing that down. And I thought, why is it so hard for me just to say, this is what I need? And so for the rest of the trip, I practiced just actually speaking my opinion, which was surprisingly hard, which is embarrassing to admit. But I actually had to say, oh, you know what? Peanut butter and jelly actually sounds better to me right now. Or, you know what? I'm so tired. I'm going to take a nap, which before that felt like, I shouldn't say that. I should be up wanting to be with them. But it's like, I'm really tired, but starting to speak up just for my own needs. And as I did that, what I started realizing was, number one, it was a gift to my kids, because don't you hate it when people have needs and you're asking them and you're trying to help meet their needs, and they just, no, whatever you want. That's what I'm doing to them. But they're asking, I need to just answer, right? Not that my needs are more important than theirs, but they're at least should be considered in the equation, just like everybody else's are. And so that was just a tiny example of what I'm working on right now. It's like, oh, okay, if I really do care about myself and I'm really not worthless, then my opinion matters, my needs matter, and I need to do a better job at meeting my own needs. And I started realizing that's a lot of why I get anxious, is I feel like my needs are never met and nobody really cares about them but me. And then I start feeling depressed, and then I don't really matter to myself. So then why do I bother even caring about my body? And, and I'm realizing that has a lot to do with why I sabotage myself sometimes. Anyway, that was probably too long of a story to tell you about why this can take a long time. Because that's one little layer of my onion. I don't know how long I'm going to have to work on that to be totally comfortable with it. And it's still being revealed to me all the time. Now that I'm aware of it, now I'm looking around all the time going, oh my gosh, I do this everywhere. I do it with my mom. I do it with my husband. I do it with all sorts of my needs. So now I'm going to have to work on that. And I imagine that as I do, I already feel like, oh, okay. I feel a little bit more confident. I feel a little more, I don't know, less anxiety kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just one layer. So then I'm going to feel a lot better as I get that figured out. And I may not know what I need to work on next,
Yeah.
but life will show me what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the real question for you then is, there's still stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
Find yourself eating more than you need, and you know it, and you're choosing to do it. There is a reason for it. You're not stupid. You're not crazy. You have a
So
reason.
why am I not, well, a couple of things. So sometimes I have this epiphany this morning. I'm like, the day in and day out, maybe the constant things that are emotionally trying or whatever, I'm not realizing because it's just always there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's these things that hit me head on, like that I told you last week about when I got so mad, I went straight to my journal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did it again last night. Something happened and I went straight to my journal. So I am making progress that way.
Yeah.
But what about all the other stuff that is constantly, like, I'm not connecting it with why I'm eating? I'm just eating,
Right.
but
But
I'm
it's constant
obviously,
stress. So why do you think you're constantly eating?
yeah,
Right? Yeah. So that is a great epiphany, because now what you can see is the progress of, oh my gosh, okay, here's one in my face. Here's how I'm going to handle it. That is monumental progress. That is
yeah,
huge progress. And you need to really appreciate that about yourself. And you need to pat yourself on the back and really rejoice in that. And now just say, okay, what's the next level? Oh my gosh, I have this stress all the time. So what can I do for myself that will help me stay connected to myself through all that? So
yeah.
answer that question. What can you do for yourself? What would you tell somebody else?
Well, I would tell them to do something that they enjoy doing, but I've actually been struggling with that lately too. Like, what do I want? What do I enjoy doing? What makes me happy? I kind of feel like I'm in a funk where I don't even know what that is, you know?
It's really about finding your own self rather than feeling like all you are is there for everybody else's needs. You know, what do you actually want to do? What do you enjoy? What makes you happy,
Yeah,
rather than all the stuff you have to do or that you feel obligated to do.
yeah. So I've been journaling, like, you know, what is it? What do I want to do? I actually I love traveling, but this might sound so weird, but I think I almost enjoy the before travel, the planning, and the after travel, like talking about it and scrapbooking it.
Ah,
That sounds so weird, but so lately I'm like, I need to plan something, whether I'm going to go on a trip or not. I just need to start researching because I just love to do that. So the other night I just
so
started doing that.
for fun, just tell me for a minute, what are the things you love about planning a trip?
Um, all the choices, the what can we do? We can go here, we can go there, we can take a cruise, we can, I don't know, finding a good deal. I like that. Just learning about where I'm going and what there is to do and the culture and the um yeah, I love it all.
Okay. And when you get back, what do you love about that?
I love to tell people about it. What did we do? You know, all the things that we saw, the things we experienced, showing them pictures of all the things we did. Um, and then I like putting into a book. So, I have that to share, and I like working. I love to scrapbook. So I like to, I like the actual working on that, the organizing the pictures and journaling and all of that that goes along with it too.
Okay, cool. So you really can't do that without actually going on the trip.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So there is the actual going on the trip part.
Yeah.
But now we can't always afford to go to Australia.
Right.
Right. But there's lots of places you can go that are not that expensive, not that far, that are
Right.
just right. You can do all those same kinds of things.
Yeah.
So that's great. You've identified one thing you love to do.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about the actual travel part that didn't get included in that list of planning and getting back?
Um, well, I was thinking about our Australia trip, like when we were in Australia,
Mm-hmm.
and I was thinking, um, I just feel so bad even saying this because I just feel so like ungrateful to even have these thoughts, but um and it may have something to do with, the place I was at with Dawson here and we were there and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. So I don't know, but I felt like, am I really enjoying this? Am I really having fun? Do I would I ever want to come back here? Um I just remember thinking about like all the negative things, like, the food's not very good, and um I don't remember exactly, just thinking about like, I don't think I really want to come back here. But then, like I said, when I got home and I started talking about it, I I don't know, I enjoyed it more. Like looking back on it, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it.
I know exactly what you're saying. So, first of all, you did have a very tremendous amount of anxiety while you were there because of stuff that was going on at home. So that's really not fair to judge yourself for that. Because
Yeah.
we talked about that before. There's not a mom on earth that would have felt any differently than you. None. Now, that being said, I will confess we've done a lot of traveling. And I have those thoughts every single time we're gone because when you plan the trip, you have this idealistic view of what you're hoping to accomplish, right? We're going to go sit on the beach and enjoy each other's company, and it's going to be like zero contention. And we're just going to have this wonderful time exploring this new culture. Well, guess what? When you get there, you're still the same people, right? You still annoy each other, and now you're in each other's face 24/7. You don't leave for work. You have your stuff still. You have your disagreements about, well, should we go do this or go do this? Well, I don't know. I'm really tired. I want to sit on the beach and read a book. Yeah, but if we're only going to be here for the next 3 days, we have to go see everything. You
Yeah.
have these differences of opinion there, just like everywhere else. So yes, you enjoy it, but sometimes I think we almost make ourselves more miserable on the trip because we have these expectations that are not realistic. We should go on this trip and it's going to be this lovely, romantic, blah, 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 whatever you think it's going to be, but you're still the two of you, and you're still going to have fights while you're gone, and you're still going to have, and in fact, sometimes it's worse because you have really tired people who have been traveling from morning till night. You're not in your own bed. You're exhausted. You got a ton of decisions to make. You're spending a ton of money, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes I think we set ourselves up to have a worse time than if we were at home.
Yeah.
At home, we have a routine. When things get irritating, I can go to this room, you can go to that place, and we don't have to deal with it. On vacation, we're still in the same rental car all day, right? Yeah. So it's very, very normal. I don't know anybody who doesn't go through that. But then what I tell people is when you get back, your brain softens all that, right? We were just talking yesterday about a family trip we had. We tried to have one right before our daughter left on her mission. And I swear Satan came with us. It was the worst trip. And every single person had a horrible attitude, including me. And I was literally trying to figure out how we could go home early. It was awful, awful, awful. And now we laugh about it, right? Yes, it was still a horrid trip. We all know it was a horrid trip, and we just laugh now. It's not going to stop us from traveling again, right?
Yep.
So that's really normal. Where it can hold you back is you judging yourself for feeling normal, right? Because you're to the point of tears saying, I shouldn't feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
Now your needs, your feelings don't count, right? I'm a horrible person because I feel like a normal person. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
else can feel that way. If Becky feels that way, it's funny. And of course it's that way, right? For everybody. But if I feel that way, I'm a horrible person,
I
right?
actually didn't know that was a normal feeling. I've never really talked to
Which is
anyone
why
about
we have to talk about it, right?
that.
We have to talk about life with each other. We have to get to the point where we're not judging ourselves so hard so that we can talk to somebody else. Because when
Yeah.
you're judging yourself really hard, you're like hiding it,
Right.
right? I
Like,
must be a freak. There's something wrong with me. I shouldn't feel this way, so I need to hide it from everyone.
yeah.
When in reality, maybe your husband's got some gripes, or man, that sucked. And Dawson was in the hospital, and you weren't, you couldn't even be with us mentally because you're worried about him. And yeah, there were some things that really sucked about that trip.
Yeah.
And there were some really great things about the trip. And we'll always, and you'll have those great memories and you'll have the really hard memories. You'll
Yeah.
never not tie that trip to Dawson being sick.
Right.
Right. But you also will never have not been to Australia. You know what it looks like. You've been on the beaches, you've tasted the food, you've been, and so that will also be there, all the good and the bad. And that's just how it goes,
Yeah.
But recognizing that you have worth and that you are a normal, wonderful person who just happens to have human emotions, and give yourself a break, then you're not so hard on yourself and it doesn't eat you up inside, right?
Yeah.
And then when it's eating you up inside, that's just one more thing you have to distract from.
Right.
That memory pops up, and without even realizing it, suddenly, God, why do I just have to keep eating these cookies? I don't really know why. I just don't care right now and I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because your subconscious is going, oh, you got some crappy stuff going on inside of you and you don't want to think about it, right? We haven't learned to sit with the negative feelings. We haven't learned to analyze what they even are. And we haven't learned to challenge them and see, are they even true? Because I think most of the time they're not even true.
Yeah.
Right. And if they are true, then we can deal with them. But if we never find out what they are, we just keep stuffing them down with cookies.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'd say you're completely 100% normal. I haven't heard you say anything that's any different than anybody else I know.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've got, I love that you're thinking of things that you like to do and finding that out for yourself. So yeah, great. Go set up a trip. But then when you do it, open your eyes to the realities of it, right? Okay, we're going to still have contention, maybe more than normal because we're together. Maybe you can plan for that, right?
Yeah.
Ken and I learned that he is a go, go, go on vacation kind of person. And I am a holy crap, this is supposed to be a vacation person. And so he likes to go scuba dive, and that terrifies me. So he goes scuba diving while I read a book on the beach. That's one day, that's what we do. Right. And then he's happy and I'm happy, and we come back and tell each other about it.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe you can plan, since you're a great planner and you enjoy that, maybe you can figure out, how do we minimize some of the things that are going to be hard? And then just expect, of course, we're going to have hard moments, and that's okay. And then you can enjoy all the trip.
Yeah. Okay.
That's one example. Good. What else has been on your mind with this?
Well, I think the constant stuff that I am not always thinking about is my mother-in-law and Dawson.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually have consciously been thinking a lot about Derek and I lately. I feel like I don't know if it's since Dawson's cardiac arrest or when Derek was called as bishop, but like the past year, all this stuff, has been happening.
Yeah.
And I feel like Derek is in another land. Like his brain is so full for work and bishopric and his mom. And I just feel like he's not there. And so lately it's really been right in my face when we're together. There's very little conversation. And
Mhm.
usually he's the talker and I am more quiet, I just listen and I'll join in, but I don't usually start the conversation, or I don't think of the things to talk about. And so it's been really quiet lately. And
Mm, okay.
so it's really been bothering me.
So so let's look at that and say, okay, there's nothing wrong with the situation itself. Let's just assume that, okay? Nothing wrong with people sitting quietly next to each other without talking a lot, right? And
Right.
there's nothing unusual about being incredibly overwhelmed when you're now bishop, your mother is dying, your son is off the rails, right? I I don't know anybody who wouldn't be way freaked out by that. But what do you believe about, what are you thinking when you're sitting next to him and he's not talking?
Um, my mind goes to all kinds of like um we don't have anything to talk about. Um I'm boring, he doesn't want to be with me. What's going to happen when our kids leave, and then we're all by ourselves and we don't have anything to talk about. And um I don't know, just all these crazy negative things.
Would you admit that those are probably worst case scenario things, right?
Yeah,
Like, okay, if this continues, then we'll probably be divorced when the kids leave the house,
yeah, yeah,
right?
exactly.
He's see, isn't it interesting how we logically know, all right, his mom is dying, his
Mhm.
son is off the rails, his bishopric thing is killing him, work is killing him. But isn't
Yeah,
that interesting that your brain automatically said it was about you?
yep,
He doesn't like me.
yep,
He's bored with me. He doesn't want to be with me. We have nothing in common anymore. So
yep.
why do you think your brain would suddenly turn it into you?
um because I can control myself, I guess. I can't control him. Can't. uh,
Interesting. Yeah, it could be a way of controlling, right? If I can blame myself, maybe I can fix it,
mhm.
right? Um, but you can't control any of those other things.
Mm.
Not a one of them, right? So it could be a way of controlling. Also, food can feel the same way. It's something you can control, right? Um, this is where a great therapist comes in play, right? You could go see one. I'm not saying you have to. For me, that is really, really helpful to start figuring out, oh my gosh, I've been feeling this way since I was like 3, right? I've been feeling like I'm the negative piece in every equation.
Mhm.
And when I can see, oh my gosh, I started feeling that way because I had a dad who was not capable of connecting with anyone, right? And the only message I got was, you are never good enough. You're never good enough, never good enough, never good enough. So I learned to just feel like everything I do screws everything up. And so I do the same thing. I do the same thing. I take situations that are completely not related to me and I make them about me, right? Because my brain is convinced that it's me. If I were just gone, everything would be great,
Yeah.
right? But if you disappeared tomorrow, if you had a heart attack and died, and you just weren't in the picture, do you think Derek's life would be better or worse?
Worse.
Far worse, right? Do you think he would be happier and relieved or sad?
Sad.
So we know logically that it's garbage.
Yeah.
We know that. But our insides are telling us something different,
Mhm.
right? So now you can do the work of journaling, sitting down, thinking through and saying, oh, here's a negative belief. Here's a limiting belief I better work on, right? I believe I'm the negative in every equation. I believe, for me, I can't say what your actual belief is because you have to go back in your head and figure it out. Mine, I believed I was not lovable. because I had a dad who was incapable of love. I didn't know that it was his fault, thought it was mine. And I didn't believe that I was worth working things out with, right? To this day, I will say that to my husband. If he walks away when we're disagreeing on something, it just crushes me. It makes me feel like I'm not worth working things out with. You know, my dad felt it was fine. You know what? Better to just leave. And if somebody else does that, I just feel crushed. So now my husband knows he has to warn me. I'm not leaving for very long. I'm just going to go cool off. I can come back and talk to you some more. Like, okay, thank you for telling me that. But, you know, we have these parts of ourselves that have just latched onto beliefs, usually as a kid, because we have such limited information. But we apply it to every situation we're in every day now. And then we wonder why we're miserable in all these everyday situations.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know, you know, we can keep working through any I can coach you through anything that I can possibly help with, but it is really helpful sometimes to talk to somebody who's professionally trained in that too.
Okay.
But those are the things right now. I mean, my homework for you would be get out that journal and start saying, okay, so here's how I felt with Derek. I felt worthless. I felt like he's not interested in me, like I'm not worth being with, whatever the phrases are that are going through your head while you're sitting next to him in silence. And start thinking about, when else have I felt this way? You know, when else have I felt this way? What's the earliest I can remember feeling this way? What was the situation? And can I remember back earlier than that? And is it true? Is it true? Challenge it. Is it true? Right? Is it true that a 4 or 5 or 3 or 7-year-old girl is unlovable? Ever? Right? I've never met one. Right?
Right.
And so when I start challenging that, I'm like, well, that's not true. I actually am lovable. So why didn't he love me? Then that's the next question I have to ask. Oh, because he's kind of messed up and he had a parent who didn't know how to love him. And he had, you know, then I start understanding it more, and I still might be triggered sometimes, but I now know, oh, okay, this is that old belief, and I can reinforce the truth, and I can work with myself on those things that I need to be reminded of to feel better. And then I have to act on it. Then I have to actually say to somebody, I would prefer a peanut butter sandwich. Thank you. You know, as stupid as that sounds, why is that hard? I don't know, but sometimes it is for me. You know? But it's interesting. It's those little things that build, and they're always there. So like you said, you're used to the in your face stuff that makes you mad now, which is great. Now you're ready to start looking at the constant background noise that your brain is creating, and start picking it apart. Start saying, okay, what are the thoughts going through my head all the time? First, just identify them.
Okay.
And then go through and say, ooh, is that even true? And then start replacing it with what is truth. But that takes time. And it takes some real dedication to some serious journaling or talking to someone or whatever it takes to get through all that. I read a lot of books that are helpful. I really spend a lot of time on trying to figure this stuff out.
Okay.
Basically because I'm sick to death of, you know, where I've been. I want to keep moving forward. And I like the moving forward that I've done, but I haven't mastered it.
Yeah.
Right? I've still got things to overcome and learn. So yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely a journey. I don't know how long you and I are going to be feeling like it takes us to get this, you know, completely under control. And even then, I think there will always be things that will trigger, that we'll have to go, oh yeah, okay, I forgot, I'm back again.
Yeah.
You know, and just learn to forgive yourself and move on.
Okay.
So let's think for a minute. We've still got about 15, 20 minutes. What are some of the things that what comes to your mind when I say something like, what's some of the earliest times you can remember feeling that?
So the beliefs that has been coming up late, or belief that has been coming up lately is I'm boring and I'm not fun to be around.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
Which is really interesting because I always used to like, I don't know, I always had fun when I was younger and a teenager and always had lots of friends and I was popular and I didn't have those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I have to think more recent.
Well, you also, as a teenager, didn't have the life responsibilities you do now,
Right.
right? So if I could live a teenager's life right now, that'd be pretty awesome. But
Yeah.
so, okay, so so this kind of ties into what you were saying about wanting to do some things again, like planning vacations,
Yeah.
right? You want to do something more fun. So I think it's okay to say, rather than saying, am I boring? Let me ask you, are you bored?
Um, yes.
Maybe that's a more important question, because boring is a judgment call, right? Your husband may be sitting next to you thinking, oh, I'm so glad I can just be myself around her. And that, like, there's zero demands and we can just sit here and watch a TV show or whatever it is you were doing, right? He may be thrilled that there's zero demand from you and that you're not expecting him to go ride a cruise ship right now,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe to him, that's not boring at all. And maybe you're bored,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I think it's good that you can kind of separate the two. And you can even ask him, I'm feeling bored. I'm feeling like I need something to look forward to. I mean, whatever. Are you feeling the same way? Are you bored? Do you feel like we need to, why not find out? Or maybe he's like, oh, please don't add one more thing to my life. And then you can be like,
Yeah.
all right, do you care if I plan something for my life? Or maybe he'd be like, that would be great. We need something fun to look forward to. I don't know what he would say. But yeah, instead of it being like, I'm boring, now that's a judgment call.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, if you're bored, I love it. You talk about planning a trip. What are some other things that you've thought of you could do that would be exciting and fun and for you?
I want to start a sewing project. So Maya and I are actually going to go shopping this week for some fabrics. So
Fun.
I'll have that to work on because
Okay.
I enjoy that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've already got some things immediately.
Yep.
Okay, good. Anything else come to your mind that you want to do?
Um, no, haven't thought of anything.
Okay, so let me give you a little word of warning. Being bored right now and struggling emotionally is a gift to you. This is your chance to identify the thoughts that are going through your head, right? And to do that emotional work. If you jump directly into, I'm going to go start a sewing project that I love, that is awesome, and don't not do that. But if you use the excitement of that to distract yourself from getting to the bottom of the emotional stuff will just come right back again. It'll
Yeah.
always be there. It'll never just go away by itself.
Yeah.
Right. So don't say, well, I can't do anything fun until I get to the bottom of all my misery, because guess what? That's going to take years. So do nice things for yourself. Take care of yourself, have fun, do those projects, and set aside time for yourself to say, okay, let's really, while this is fresh in my head and in my heart, let's do some work and figure out what's going on here.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
the next time it does come up, and it will, you have a solid foundation that you have figured out for yourself, and oh, that's where that thought's coming from. That's garbage. I know that's okay. I know that's garbage. How am I going to combat that? Right.
Yeah.
So give yourself the gift of doing this work that's coming from where you are right now, because without it, we just keep going in circles.
Yeah.
Right. And with it, I mean, don't get me wrong, you'll never get to a point where life will be like this. That's just not going to happen, as much as I wish it were true, right? It's always going to do this. Every
Yeah.
stock market does this. Some
Yep.
stock markets are like this and everybody's going crazy, and some stock markets go like this. And that's kind of what we're looking for, right?
Yeah.
We're looking for the lows to be a little less low, the highs to be a little,
Yep.
we're moving instead of being in this crazy, cycle that we can't really take for very long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have a chance to even look at the book this week?
I did. I
Nutrition?
read the whole chapter.
Yeah. What did you think about it?
It was good.
It's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
What can you tell me about your thoughts about it?
Let me get it out so we can look. Let's see. I liked when they were talking about Michael Phelps.
Yeah,
And
how many calories he eats and what
Yeah.
type of food.
Yeah. And how we can't look at it as a one-time thing, but overall,
Mm-hmm. I also like the fact that they're very common sense. I think our world, because people want to sell so much, whether they're selling a newspaper or a product or whatever, they tend to try to induce our fear as much as possible. And so I love the story in there about the little girl who came into the nutritionist terrified of any trans fats,
Mm-hmm.
and how one of her homework assignments was to eat a ding dong with her nutritionist.
Yep.
And I thought that's so interesting because she's terrified. And I get that. I was so OCD as a kid for a while, really, really OCD. And you get these just phobias that in their head, don't make a lot of sense, but they're just so real to you. And I could just picture this cute little girl eating a ding dong and realizing, okay, my life didn't end.
Yeah.
I'm fine. And I think that that's really important to realize, is that really hardly anything in life is an all or nothing prospect.
Yeah.
But the world really conditions us to feel like it is.
Yeah.
I really like that part. I also liked that simpleness. So they were talking about, let me see, what page is it on? Usually I take notes and then I try to put what page it's on so I can remember. I think it's page 203. I don't know. Where they say, oh yeah, it is the top of 203 in the Eater's Manifesto, a defense of food and Eater's Manifesto. And the whole conclusion is eat food, not too much, mostly plants.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. That's the advice. And I'm like, that is so smart. And yet we make it so complicated.
Right.
Right. And then we freak out on a day that we don't do that. I have days where I haven't touched a plant. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that. And then eating healthfully should feel good both physically and psychologically, ultimately resulting in a satisfactory experience, which is why I love that ultimate satisfactory experience. That's truly what I do better when I am aiming for that. And then the part I really like and wanted to focus on a little bit today, because you were saying, I'm nowhere near ready for that. And I think that's great. It's no big deal. But I love the part that says how to know if it's time to focus on general nutrition. And again, where is my page number? 213 maybe? Let's see. I think it's 215. Oh yeah, it's 215, that little kind of bullet point list.
Oh yeah.
And I like that. Are you able to focus on the central qualities of food and honor how you'll feel physically when you eat this food? And I think that's something we're constantly working on. I don't know if we'll ever be perfect at that. Like I said, we kind of remember, forget. But when we get pretty good at consistently doing that, and even accepting the choice that I'm going to be a little too full and I'm going to do this anyway. Sometimes that counts, right? Do you have a medical condition that will be helped by focusing on nutritional qualities of food? If my daughter with celiac disease decides she's not in the mood, it's still going to affect her body, right? She's still going to be really sick after eating it.
Yeah.
Does thinking about nutrition feel neutral rather than stirring up dieting thoughts? most of the time I'm there. Once in a while, I'll still have those thoughts of, I shouldn't be eating that. But most of the time I get there. Are you able to have low nutrition without old guilt feelings? So you're able to eat an ice cream cone and not freak out. And then saying, if you can answer yes to these questions, then focusing on nutrition is not likely to throw you over the edge. So the way I like to think of it is, when you're in a bad place, you're in a bad place. You're just not going to care about any of these rules when you're in a bad place, right? But when you find that you're in a good place, the best way I try to incorporate this is just simply think about, are there two things that I like equally? Mm-hmm. And if it's equal, then I can choose the healthier choice. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of where I go with it. So if I'm at a restaurant and I really love this salad and I really like this baked potato, I don't know, whatever it is, whatever other thing there is, and they both sound equally good to me and I can't decide, then it's easy to pick the healthier one.
Okay.
Right. But if I'm really in the mood for mashed potatoes and steak and whatever comes with that, and there's a salad bar and that just doesn't sound good to me, if I choose the salad bar, I will later on feel that feeling of my needs never matter. Yeah. Isn't it funny? I always feel like my needs don't matter to other people or whatever, when in reality it's only me they don't matter to. Yeah. It's so funny how we do that. We like to externalize those feelings. But so for me, that's kind of a summary of gentle nutrition, right? Okay. If you can make it work within what you're doing and it doesn't make any difference to you, of course, choose a healthier one. Yeah. Right? If you can choose if a glass of water sounds just as good to you as a glass of Coke, then go with the water. If you're really in the mood for a Coke, go have a Coke.
I do think I've actually done some of that without realizing it. Like for breakfast lately, just because I still am eating junk food. Mm-hmm. I feel like in the mornings I just want something healthy. Like I like the other morning, Derek made some homemade coconut syrup and it's so good.
I love that.
Do I want to have waffles and coconut syrup, or do I want to have a smoothie? And most of the time I've been choosing the smoothie just because I just feel like I want that and I need that. My body needs that. And so, yeah, I actually have been doing that a little bit. So
as soon as you give yourself permission to have the coconut syrup, then you really can notice, oh, I actually don't want that so much right now. It really is like magic to me. It's the opposite of what every diet ever told me would happen. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It feels good.
Yeah, just keep doing that. Just keep kind of focusing always on what sounds best to you. And if something is equally as attractive to you as something else and it's healthier, great, go for it. But I think that kind of takes care of itself pretty naturally. So I also really love this last part that they say, don't let yourself be put on a food pedestal.
Oh, yeah.
On 217. I have to tell you, that's something that I have mentally struggled with since we started this group. You and I are now the group. But it's interesting how, I wish I were an expert on it. Mm-hmm. I wish I could say I do everything perfectly. And at first I kind of felt like, if I don't succeed at this, then what business do I have running this group? Right. And now I've kind of worked through it and said, you know what, I share what works with me and I'm on this journey with you. And I don't want to be on a pedestal, because then the minute I don't want people to constantly judging what I eat or don't eat, right, or the size of my waist, or look, she still has weight to lose or whatever. Because in all honesty, you can't tell from looking at me or you or anyone else where they are on that journey. Right. And I could be in a wonderful, fantastic, really great place Monday through Friday, and on Saturday be in a horrid place. Yeah. Right. And I could be back on Sunday, or I could still have a hard time on Sunday. And it's a process that we're all working on. But I can tell you, like I said, that there has been so much more peace and so much more growth. And the cool thing is, a lot of the peace and growth is not even related to weight or food. So to be able to speak up and say, oh yeah, I guess my choice of restaurants matters as much as anyone else. So I'll put out what sounds good to me, you know? That little thing has nothing to do with it might affect what I eat later, but that's not going to change my weight right now. But inside the peace changes. The
Yeah.
way I see myself changes. The way I validate myself changes. And the way I react to other people. The more I work on myself, the less reactive I am to everybody else. I don't get as offended by every little thing they do or say because I'm not reading all this stuff into it that wasn't there. Or when it is there, it doesn't hurt so much because I don't believe it anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And I can see things for what they are. So the growth is so much internal that yes, our bodies are affected, but the growth is far more than just what happens with our bodies.
I like that.
Yeah, it's really, really true. So let me talk to you really quick, if you don't mind, about ongoing stuff. So whether, the class is going to keep going, and you saw that I'm going to do like sample classes, right?
Yep.
I thought that would be a fun way to do it rather than a webinar. I thought it'd be fun just to invite people to come in and teach them a thing on making plays and kind of show them what it's like to be in a group meeting. Now, we haven't genuinely had a group meeting. I mean, we had Julie on here a couple times, and it's just been personal coaching, really, is what you and I are doing, which I love too.
Nice.
Yeah, it is really cool. I love it. But if we get other people in the group, that dynamic will change to where we have to kind of, go through and work on everybody's stuff. So there's going to be less time per one person. And then also I'll have to have, some kind of a lesson and tie it into more of what the homework is and that sort of thing. So I would love to have you re-sign up because I love you. We could also do something different and just do personal coaching separate from that kind of a meeting. You could do both. I would work with you on price stuff just because you've been there from the beginning and I want to see you keep going and keep succeeding or whatever.
I definitely want to do something.
Yeah. So be thinking about what works for you.
Okay.
Right? Your job is not to make me happy. Your job is not to make the group work. Your job is to figure out, what do I need?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if I could write an ideal script, I personally think it'd be cool to have both. It'd be cool to say I have my own personal coach that I can deal with on all this stuff. Also, the group dynamic and learning from other people is really cool. But then there's also a price point that you have to worry about. Okay, can I really do that? And there's a time cost. Do I have time to do both of those things?
Right.
You may want to see, like I said, I also am seeing and paying for a therapist each week. That's money and time too. And so I want you to think about, what do you need to keep moving forward as much as possible?
Okay.
Because you are making great progress.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want you to think is, it's been 6 months and I'm not cured.
Right.
Because otherwise we're all going to be really disappointed if that's the way we think about stuff.
Right.
But I think you're doing really, really well.
Wait, don't leave yet. Sorry.
Okay. I'll let you go. I'm excited to hear how the week goes, but text me and let me know.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.